Okay, so, boy, that's loud. I'm assuming you can hear me in the back. Yes? Okay, good.
Wait, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? No? Hello? Yes? Yeah, yes. We got a thumbs up in the back, so I'm saying we're good. Let's go.
All right, anyone who has followed me in the community knows that this is not the kind of stuff that I would normally do because it seems like an oxymoron. How can you accomplish the impossible? Kind of by definition, isn't impossible not accomplishable? So for all of you doubters and all of you naysayers out there, I have two words. As soon as I find the remote. Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
All right, so it's a little hard to follow that one, but we hang out just a little bit in the community, so maybe you've seen me a time or two, you know, in the 5 minutes or so, but all right. A common theme in the Canvas community is our Panda user, you know, your general Canvas user will say, hey, can Canvas do, say, I want to know what the different person has, like what their script is or what their name is for their user, and I want that role right there. And I'll come in and I'll say, sorry, you know, you can't figure out how, there's no way to do that in the front end of Canvas. It's just, it's really not possible. And then James will come in almost immediately after me, of course, and say, actually, you can do that. And of course, I always feel like egg on my face. And I will say that is exactly why I have now, when I say it's not possible, I will say that's not currently possible on the front end of Canvas. So notice the front end part. Yeah. So James says, yeah, actually, you can do that. And then he says this.
Now, basically, the only new principle involved is that instead of power being generated by the relative motion of conductors and fluxes, it is produced by the modal interaction of magneto-reluctance and capacitive directance.
Thank you. You got no. Hold on. Let's see if we can get the volume. Any of our tech guys, you know how to increase the volume of the video?
I don't know.
Oh, put the microphone up. Here, grab that one.
There's a.
Okay.
Well, there's a lot of echo here.
Here, go back and.
Now, basically, the only new principle involved is that instead of power being generated by the relative motion of conductors and fluxes, it is produced.
Okay, so as all of you in technology know, and especially when you're demoing something for other people, when does it not work? When you're in front of everyone else, and especially a packed audience of people. So let's just say it's really funny, and ultimately it's gibberish. It's a bunch of, you know, you do blah, 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 I don't know code, so I can't even say it because I don't know what it is. But just imagine there's a bunch of gibberish, and you have absolutely no clue on this earth what this guy just said. And you really don't, but pretend you heard and nothing happened. And so how would that make that poor panda who said, how can you do this feel? Well, that panda's pretty sad, right? Because James said, yeah, you can do that, but he gave you like this mile-long code, and you're like, I don't know what to do with that. And
wait. Let me tell you a story.
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, let me tell you a story.
All right.
We started using Canvas back in 2012, and in 2013, I came to my first Instructure con. I went to the hack day back then, and I sat down at a table by myself because I'm pretty much a loner and don't like social interaction. And after a while, Brian Whitmer came over and introduced himself. And he kind of said, what are you after? And he introduced me to two guys from Texas. And I don't remember their names, but they said, yeah, you can do that. You just need to use the custom JavaScript. Whatever you want to do, use custom JavaScript. I don't know JavaScript. So I was kind of feeling like the panda in the story kind of went away sad. So I came back the next year in 2014. In 2014, everything was about the API. You can do this through the API. Yeah, it's not built into Canvas, but you can use the API. It's awesome. You can do all kinds of things, except for the one thing I wanted to do. It wasn't there in the API. Either that or it was too complicated. I couldn't understand how to get it out. So again, I was feeling kind of sad. But then I did take three things away from that conference. First one was a REST client that you can plug into your browser, so you don't have to program to make APIs. You can test them out inside the browser. I know Postman is one that people use. I use a REST client for Chrome. The second one was the Live API. What was that called?
Live Canvas API.
Live Canvas API, where you go into a web page that's built in now as part of your Canvas. It was the last presentation of the whole conference. I was like so glad I hung around for it. So you can go in and play around and see how things are supposed to work. And the third one was a presentation by Josh Bloomberg. And he pulled up a Google Sheet. And in this Google Sheet, he loaded all kinds of information about the course into one Google Sheet. And that wasn't the best part. The best part was he shared it with everyone. And so then I was able to go out and see what he had done. And that was kind of where my stuff started, was by looking at his stuff. So now we go on to 2015. In 2015, the Canvas community that we know now came around. And on April 22nd of 2015, I joined the Canvas community. I guess there was one before that, I just didn't know about it. But in 2015, I joined, and I finally had a place where we could communicate with other people that were having the same issues that we were having. And I found after not too long that I was one of those people that was sharing answers. And so I would share answers with people because I had figured out how to do it. And that made me feel good instead of sad. And the more we did this, the more I shared, and I would always make these long posts that would say, here's how you can do that. And I wish you could have seen the video, because that's what it sounded like. And the people walked away without any clue what I had just said. But I'm a math teacher, and the journey is more important than the destination. I want to educate people how to do this so they can go do it for themselves. I just don't want to do it for them. You guys understand that as teachers, right? Okay, 3 of you do. All right. So I was like, man, I don't know. So after a while, I'm dealing with my fear and my anxiety, and okay, I know how to do this. I could write it for them, but I'm afraid. I'm not a coder. I'm a math teacher. I dabble in programming. I've been programming for a long time, but I'm not a programmer. I didn't go to school to be a programmer. So my code looks ugly, and I don't want to share it with people, but I'll tell other people how to do it. Well, at one point, Chris Odom posted some JavaScript in the community. And there were a bunch of us that kind of gathered around it and chatted about it and fixed it up. And I went through and I made it into a user script, which made it easier to work with. Excuse me, high altitude. And so then I started doing this other stuff, and I'm like, man, but I don't feel comfortable sharing this. And so I commented on lots of other people's stuff, and I just didn't feel good about sharing my own. And then I came to a realization that I probably should have come to a long time ago. It's about the typical user. And the typical user can't program. They won't look at the code.
No.
And they don't really care how it works. They just care that it works. So I started making my stuff, and I finally said, okay, if other people can do it, I can do it too. And I started publishing stuff, and I made these user scripts. And I started getting so many of them, I said, I need some way to keep it organized. And what in the world?
Just keep going.
Okay. So I said, I need to put it on GitHub. And I needed a name for GitHub. And so I said, what am I going to call this stuff? And I said, well, what's it do? And I came up with the name Canvancement. And what is a Canvancement? It's a canvas enhancement. It's a Canvancement. That didn't help anyone, did it? So instead of me telling you what it is, let me show you what it is. Let's say that you have a rubric that you want to put into Canvas. Anyone used rubrics in Canvas at all? Okay, good. Then you're going to know what I'm talking about when I go through this. I borrowed this from Tulsa Public Schools. I've got a rubric. It's got 20 criteria. Each of them has 5 items. I've gone through and I've put it into this nice-looking spreadsheet. Unfortunately, they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instead of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, so it's the wrong order for Canvas. But you know the process that you have to go through to get this done. So what I did was, I remember somewhere in the community, someone mentioned something about a rubric importer. And so I go to the community and I do a search. And let's see, what did I search for? Import rubric. And it comes up with this importing rubric from a spreadsheet. Now, I've got instructions, and you scroll through. Actually, you're carefully reading them, and you scroll through, and you scroll through some more, and you go through some more, and you scroll through some more, and you finally get to the part where you need to install the user script manager. And there's Tamper Monkey and there's Grease Monkey, and they both work the same. And so what I'm doing now is installing that user script manager. You only need to do this once per computer, per browser, and then you can use all the other stuff that you're going to see today. And then once that's done, you click on the link that says the script that you want to install. And that took about 4 seconds. And now I'm going to reload my page, and there'll be a new button over there on the right side. And that says Import a Rubric. And so now I go back to my spreadsheet, and I copy all of the stuff that's in my spreadsheet, Control-C, Command-C for the Mac users. And then I'm going to switch back over to this little dialog box that popped up. Kind of put in the name of the rubric. I'm a slow typist. I paste that in there and I say create, and there's a new one down there that says Teacher Observation Rubric. And right there it is.
Now, was that worth the price of Instacon right there, people?
And you might notice that it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I try to write it to be flexible, and there's various formats. That's the information that you skipped through when you saw that. So let me recap what you just saw. It took 18 seconds to install the user script manager. It took 5 seconds to install the user script. It took 26 seconds to install the rubric, basically because I was trying to remember what to do. And it took you 14 seconds to skip my documentation. So what you have is Rubric Importer, and that's a Canvancement. And hopefully that does a much better job than shoving 2 words together and saying Canvancement. So after you have your rubric in there, let's say that you realized you had the criteria in the wrong order, and it's now time to go through and you want to fix it. And so how's that working? Oh, you got to delete everything up until the one that you want, and then you can start recreating the entire rubric. Well, you could just like repaste from the spreadsheet with the other one, but I wrote this one first. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drag and drop a couple of rows around in a rubric. So you go back to the community because you remember something in there about sorting a rubric. And you go up to the search bar and you say, sort rubric. I think this one's called Sorting Rubrics Made Easy. My easy is not the same as everyone else's easy. But hopefully you'll see how easy it is. You click the thing, you say install, you reload the page, you edit it, and you just click and drag to where you want it to go, and you update the rubric, and there you've got it in the right order. Let's say that it's time to now use that rubric. And so you want to go find a rubric that you've used. And if you're a very first time teaching with Canvas, this won't be hard. But after you've been at it for a couple of terms or a couple of years, you have a lot of courses. And you know how hard it is to find the rubric that you want? Well, let me show you. This is the way Canvas works currently. You go down and you say, I want to add a rubric. And then you click on the Find a Rubric button, and it pulls up this seemingly random list of courses. And I need Math 116. Oh, wait, that's the wrong one. And I go, oh, there's the one that only had 2 rubrics. There's the rubric that I wanted. And so I say, use this rubric. And then you remember, wait a minute, I remember reading something in the Canvas community about this. So you go back to the Canvas community and you look for Find Rubric Sorter, something like that. And it comes up with this sorting of Find a Rubric dialog. And you scroll down, you click the name of the script, and you click install, another like 3 seconds. You reload the page, and then you click on Rubric and Find a Rubric, and oh, there's my course right at the very top. I didn't have much to show for that one because once you get it, it's there. Whatever your context is, it puts it at the top, and the rest of it is listed alphabetically, or you can sort it by term and then alphabetically. So in case you missed that, Canvas is on the left, some kind of random order, and on the right side, I also added the name of the term to the course so you could tell which one you were in instead of having to search through all of them. But it does put the current one at the top. That also works for your account rubrics. Who's up after this one?
You are me.
I have a 5-year-old. Actually, we have a 5-year-old. And one of her favorite...
Had a little bit to do with it.
One of her favorite books, well, you'll recognize it when you see this. But that is not all. Oh no, that is not all.
All right, so think about something that you use every day, and it just becomes so ingrained in what you do that you quit even paying attention to that it's a technology or something different. For me, it's my keyless entry on my van. It's in my purse. I honestly don't even know where the key is in my purse because it's in my purse somewhere. And so I just walk up to my door, open it up, press the button, my car starts, right? I don't even think about that amazing technology. It just works. Then I go to use his car, and I'm like, oh, key, where's the key? Oh my God, I need a key. And at that point, I finally realize how amazing that, keyless entry is, right? Well, for me, QuizWiz is like the keyless entry of Canvas because it has become so ingrained in what I do and how my workflow is when I'm grading using SpeedGrader. I don't even realize I'm using it until I'll have a faculty member in my office, and I'm doing something, and they're like, wait, what was that button? I don't have that button. How did you do that? And I'm like, well, I'm like, oh, you don't have that button. Oh, let me show you and show you the dark side of Canvas and what we have. But QuizWiz is amazing. And for an example, so here's the current, right? So I love grading with my rubrics. You go through your rubric, you save, right? Then you save, and it's thinking. Then you go in, you add your comments, and you submit. And you're waiting. You click the next button, right? You're with me still? Yeah, this is my workflow. I use rubrics for everything. So just imagine, you've got how many students, and you're doing this, right? How many clicks? Are we getting a little click happy here yet, people? Click, 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 right? Click, click, click. Wait a second. It's coming, because I'm still clicking through all of these rubrics. And then clicking next buttons and saving buttons and all of that. Okay, so now you're at your Canvancement. So I'm going to add my comments, right? Submit it. I'm going to click open my rubric, and put in my rubric stuff. And then using this little button right there, it automatically goes to the next student. Well, first of all, it saves the score, goes to the next student, and opens your rubric in one click. So instead of click, 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 it's one click, and it does it all. You can also do that for comments, so maybe you're not using a rubric, you're just entering comments. You can do that one click. It will save your comments, save whatever score you've entered in, and gone straight to the next student. So, one click. Yeah. And I will tell you, if you grade and you've got 1 million to grade, those clicks add up like crazy. So what are the SpeedGrader improvements? Submit comments in advance, save the rubric in advance, reopen rubric in advance, which honestly for me, God, just the fact that rubric is already open, it's already ready to go, I can just start clicking on the rubric, but yeah. And update score in advance, but which was for quizzes only, which James will.
When I started QuizWiz, Dr. Avi Naiman from New York contacted me, and he's a math teacher. And he says, in math, we go through and we assign full points, and we like to take points off. We don't like to give points. We'd rather take points off. It's just better for our workflow. And he goes through and he has them do essay questions, but use the equation editor to put the content inside of the essay question. And so that was the impetus for this. That's where it all started. And as I started developing that, I said, well, we could add this, and we could add that, and we could add all these other things. And it kind of advanced into, well, this is all within SpeedGrader, even though it's doing just quizzes, but because it was his idea, I gave him the rights to name it, and he came up with QuizWiz. So a lot of people, I think, that see it in the community say, I don't want QuizWiz. So if we would have called it like SpeedGrader on steroids or something, then people maybe would have caught on a little bit faster, but it's all bundled together. There are some things that you can do with quizzes, and I want to show those to you now. So let's say this is the Canvas way. You have this really long essay question, and you scroll all the way through the essay
Hopefully
question.
you're reading it.
Definitely you're reading this, definitely. Yeah. Yes, you're reading it. And you come down to leave a comment, and when you put the comment in there, it doesn't expand, so you kind of have to drag the box to see, oh, but wait, now I got to go all the way back to the top of the question to put in how many points they got, and then I've got to go all the way down to the second question, and on this question, they didn't even bother to give me the upload, so I got to put a 0 in, and then I've got a spacer, and then question number 3. And this instructor wanted to grade it based on the percent they answered correctly, not on the Canvas way of grading things, and so they got to manually compute the score and put it in there. And then I'm going to take off 2 points just because they told me I wouldn't read it, but I really did. Okay. So here's the Canvancement. One of the things I've done is I've duplicated that footer at the top, and I've added a couple buttons. And so you still have to read the essay. I can't fix that, although I could give them full credit and take off. When you start to type in the box, it automatically expands, and I've duplicated the header at the bottom, so now you don't have to scroll all the way back to the top. It automatically put in a 0 for you, and it calculated that weird way of percentage based on correct when you did that. So to summarize, you can I duplicated the score at the top. From the bottom to the top, I added the header that was at the top of every question to the bottom. It automatically expands, and there's now an update, score, and advance, just like there was that advance. So you can go on to the next user if you want to. There are also some grading questions. Some people have wanted all or nothing for those multiple answer questions, and this will allow you to do that. You can also do it for the multiple fill in the blanks or the multiple drop downs. It doesn't change what's in Canvas, like the way that Canvas grades it. This is an add-on that you do manually. Although any of those buttons, any of these things, you can say automatically run this. So if you wanted to, you could just have it automatically run and do the update and advance, and then load the next one, update, advance, update, advance, update, advance, update, advance, and go through your whole class that way and grade the way you want to. It will automatically assign 0 for any questions that they didn't answer, or an essay or a file upload, and it will give full points to an essay or a file upload. There's a whole bunch of configurations that you can go in and set it to do whatever you want it to do. There are some other things that I did that didn't make it into QuizWiz. I've got 3 of those. The first one is the questions to grade. If you're using grade by question, there's that little bar at the top that will show you the questions, but there was no way to know which ones you needed to go grade. And so what I've done with this script is it highlights it in red or something. I know that's not accessible, but if you're using my stuff, you're not worried about accessibility.
This is honestly another one I forget I have installed, because until we started doing this presentation, I'm like, wait, that's not built in? And he's like, no, that was one of my Canvancements you installed. Because it's so wonderful that you've just got it across the bar. You just see, oh, that one needs graded, that one needs graded, that one. You just click, it goes. You click to the next one, it goes to the next one. It's amazing, and I didn't even remember I still had it.
These are installed at the user level. Most of the things, like back in 2013 when you had to use custom JavaScript, you had to be an admin to do that. All of these things are things that the user can install and choose to do for themselves. That's why I made the comment about accessibility. Some of the things can be installed in the custom JavaScript, but most of these are meant to be ran from the browser by adding their own user script. Oops. I can't hear you.
Blueprint.
I'm sorry. And I've got a lot of stuff to get through, so I'm going to hold off for questions to the end. If you can remember what that is, thank you. The next one was to show the question names. And at the bottom right of the screen, I have these like whose idea was this. This was a personal annoyance of mine. When I go through and I create questions, I use question groups, and I sometimes have mistakes in my question group, and I would like to be able to find the question that I have that has a mistake in it. But it's not easy to do, because on the quiz, it just says question 1. I don't know which question out of the 20 in my question group that was. So that Canvancement will add the name that you put in when you created the question next to like the question 1, so you can tell which question it is. The next one was also a personal annoyance of mine. When you have a spacer, a text-only question, and you're grading question at a time, it says like 1, 2, 3, 4, but question number 3 really takes you to question number 4 because there was no real question number 3. So that was me just getting rid of that. So the question 3 actually took me to the one that said question 3.
All right, this is course access report. This is another favorite of mine. Oh, I see a couple of these, so a couple people are using it already. That's awesome. So you know the normal thing that you would need to do, right? So normally, access report, you go to people, you click on a student, you go to access report. I want to know which one of my students have looked at the syllabus, because that's kind of important. How many students have looked at the syllabus? I would have to repeat this for every single student. Yes, you're nodding with me. Every single student. But with this, it actually adds a menu item to the cog or the gear icon, whatever you want to call it. So you go to people, you click on that gear icon cog, click access report data, so it adds that blue button or that blue menu item. And what it gives you is a CSV file for the whole class. And then if you play around with the CSV file, you put it in Excel, and then you can play around with it. You can do all sorts of fun stuff, and you can see, I'll load it by content item. Then I can go content item by content item and see exactly which student has actually looked at that. You could still do it by student. You could do it by, maybe I want to look at quizzes, and I just want to see how students are doing on quizzes, or I want to look at a specific item. But really, it gives you all of that information that's in the access report in an Excel spreadsheet, and then you can rearrange it, move it, dice it, chop it, do whatever you want with it, but it's all there for your entire class. So eliminate the clicks right here. It's really awesome.
Look at me, look at me, look at me now. It's fun to have fun, but you have to know how. I've also made a roster sorter so that you can click at the top of any of the columns on your people page and sort by that column. So if you want to see which students are spending the most time or the least time in your class, just click at the top of that column. You can sort by any of the columns that are there. I don't use group discussions much, but when I do, I feel like a meme coming on. But when I do, I don't like them. Because I go to the discussion page and I see this blue box, and I have to click on each group individually to go into that group to then see what's there. If I want to change to a different group, it takes me to the group page, and when I get there, I then have to click on discussions again. Or if I want to see which group needs graded, I have to go all the way back to the course and then go back to that discussion page and see the blue box. And so what I've done is I've added some links on the discussion page within the group that will take you back to that blue screen so you can see what's there. And I've also modified that pull down menu so that when you select a different group from the discussion page, it will take you to the discussion page on that group rather than just to the group page. Show override names is like the differentiate assignments. It will tell you that you have multiple due dates or something like that, but it doesn't tell you who gets that different assignment. And so this was one that goes out and looks up the names of the students who are getting that rather than just saying there are multiple dates that are involved.
All right, so for you admins out there, this might work. I think this is more K-12 because I get a lot of K-12 people in the community who say, we have a coach, we have an advisor, the principal needs to go in, and for each student, they need to see all of the grades for that one student. Well, normally that's click into that class, click into this class, click into this class. And what this is if you go to that student's page, click that button, and there you go. There's all of the grades for that student. So it's really pretty. This one you kind of have to add to it because as part of the hack, it actually shows your name at the top instead of the students. So if you install this one, you get the student's name with their grades. I know, they go hand in hand. Literally, don't install one without the other. So. All right, dashboard cards. Okay, so how do you like the arrangement of your dashboard course cards? Do you wish you could rearrange it? Here you go. You download this script, you can put your course cards in any order you want, and it will stay. It doesn't matter if you're looking at your mobile device, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't work on mobile.
Yeah, well, if you change it, it does. Yeah.
It does, okay. I didn't think it did.
Okay, guys, this is from the man who doesn't have a mobile phone. Just saying, but okay. Dashboard course cards, though, seriously, it is wonderful. We have, and this one you can install for your entire school. So we have it installed for an entire school. So our faculty and our students don't know that if you're using regular Canvas, you can't rearrange your course cards. So, flashing?
Yeah, it's...
I don't know. Does that mean we need to leave? They're telling us to evacuate. Sorry. If we get to come back, come back. We have more.
Thank you.